Welcome back. In today's video, we're doing something a little bit different. I have been accumulating a bunch of knitting notions and they're all here and there disorganized in this container and this little plate here and this box here, and it's all over the place. I can't deal with this anymore. This is going to be a long video, but that's fine because you probably need something to watch while you're doing your own projects. So I thought that I would use some of my scrap leather to try to make some sort of setup to organize all of this a bit better. I was inspired by those needle books that one makes for just normal needles. They make it, I think, with like just normal textile and felted cloth, and that's interesting, but that sort of material doesn't really work with this chunky stuff. So I thought that I would make some sort of sleeve. I have made something like this earlier. It's a pen sleeve for my fountain pens, and I really enjoy using this, so much so that I made another one and I keep that one at work and this one's at home. So this is handy. But if I could make something similar to at least hold this sort of stuff, that would be pretty nice. Like, I can see the benefit of having everything like this stored together in one place and then leaving my stitch markers here or in a smaller container. So I thought I would do that. And I have plenty of this scrap leather, and this stuff isn't that big, so I think I can make it work. Let's plan this out. Alright, I'm just trying to make some straight edges from this. This leather is a little bit elastic, so when I cut it out, I need to be careful not to stretch it too much from one side. Otherwise, it's uneven. Someone's been using my blade. It's so blunt. What is going on here? Much better. I think I'll be able to fit in the 3 hooks and the needle, and the reason I'm grouping them together is I usually use this when finishing up work. So either I need a hook to, hide in all the ends, or a needle like this. So I would rather keep that together, and then maybe I'll make something different for these other needles. But I think I will sew in obviously these sides here. Not quite sure I'll do the bottom, and then I'll have to measure out how thick I want each slot to be, because obviously they're all different thickness. And I can already tell some of this is uneven, but it's fine. I will tidy it up towards the end. I just want to get some of the stitching in first. And I'm not too picky about it. Now, if we look back at this sleeve, the stitches, they don't go all the way. So the reason is that I can just go like this and then see what's in and then pull it out, and then it's still long enough that it protects the whole thing. I think I want to do the same thing here. Yes, I will take the stitching from the sides all the way. Maybe. How was this? Yes, I will take it all the way, and then the ones in the middle, maybe 1/2 centimeter lower. Okay. Now I have been making a bunch of holes on my cutting board here, but I would rather not. So I have this board here, so I will use that instead. Let's put all this stuff away. I like the idea of this one with lots of holes. The issue is that you need to hit it properly, hammer it properly, otherwise it only makes holes halfway, or it's missing the last two, and that's not ideal. Okay, here's a wild idea. I do have these from before. They're meant to be used with leather work. They're both linen. This is just white, and then this is in brown. The brown one looks like this, but I recently spun my own flax string, and I do have beeswax, so I could run this through there. The issue is I haven't washed it yet, and I'm not quite sure. I don't know, how does that look? I think I like the brown one better, but this was interesting. I guess next time I'll try to do something a lot finer, and then I'll try to use it for a leather project, although this is pretty fine already. It is. Okay, I wasn't ready to use this. Let's drop it for now, but it's a good idea for the future. I'm not going to use the white, but I will use the brown. Now, normally, because I'm doing this by hand, I believe it's called a saddle stitch. So basically, I need at least twice the amount of string to make this work. And I'm not very good at closing the seams yet. You know, you get these bulky parts here. I don't want that, so I have to think about how I want to do this. Oh no. Oh, okay, I just realized, because all the lines are going vertically, I won't be able to go from one section to the next unless I cut the bottom, or not cut, but stitch it from the bottom as well. And that's what it looks like. I did round off the edges here, and I think I started pretty wonky with these stitches, but I feel that it got a little bit more even and consistent towards the end. But now let's do the finishing touches. I do want to polish this off with some, I don't even know how to pronounce that. Okay, moment of truth. Moment of truth. Oh, that's nice. It'll stretch out a bit more as I use it. Yeah, and I did cut it a little bit too much there. Oh well. And here. Ooh, that's pretty nice. And then I just go like this. Ooh, that's nice. Very nice. Let's do another one. So last night after I finished doing this, I started to work on this needle book. So there's a little flap in the center and then a little pocket here. I haven't sewed it in. Oh, I messed up here. I shouldn't have sewn this part in. Okay, well, anyway, I still need to attach this part in there, and I haven't done that because I thought it would be a good idea to attach it first and then punch the holes in there to make sure that everything's nice and aligned. And then I also did the whole stitching around the whole thing, and that's what I did here as well, but now it's going to be tight. Alright, it's much later in the day now. It's such a beautiful day today, so I just had to go out and do some garden work and chores outside because normally it's just raining and miserable, so I needed to seize the opportunity, so I just dropped everything here and went out. But now it's time for me to come back in. I always have to remember to take it easy the first sunny days in the spring because the UV is really strong. Like even if you wear sunscreen, like even now I feel like perhaps I overdid it and that's not good. Anyway, let's have a look at what I've done because I feel like I've done quite a lot actually and I'm still not even finished. Let's have a look. To start with, I made this small sleeve inspired by my fountain pen sleeve, and I fit in these hooks and this plastic needle. It is a little bit tight, but what I find with leather is that it just stretches out over time, and the more you use it, the nicer it gets actually, so I'm not worried about that. It's It's actually kind of nice that it's a little bit tight now, because I know once it's stretched out and a little bit used, it'll be just perfect. This is way too cute. Like, wow. My stitch work still needs help, but I'm starting to believe it's actually both my needles and perhaps the hole size that I'm punching. But we'll see. I'm waiting. I've been using these needles and they're like really cheap needles actually. I'm just waiting for them to break and get ruined before I get proper ones from a leather shop. But I'll use them until the end. So that's that. So that's one thing done. And then I just had to make more stuff, okay? So I showed a bit of what I did earlier, and the new addition is this here. And I was really inspired by those leather journals, like the Traveler's Notebook. And I have something similar that I made myself actually. But anyway, so this is like a little book. And then it just holds a little flap or two flaps there, and then kind of like a pen loop, but instead of a pen loop, it holds this needle container. And again, it is a little bit tight, but I think it's gonna stretch out a bit, and I rather it's a little bit tight like this than it falling out. So it actually serves its purpose there. And then I realized I showed you how I had messed up this part. I halfway messed it up. I just sewed it in upside down. So I just had to redo it. Anyway, it's all ready. Looks like that. So let's put the stuff in there. I have these needles here. Perhaps I should cut this. Let's see. But it fits perfectly in there. So I'm just gonna leave it as this. And then this like that. Maybe this. Okay, I'll just leave it as this. And then these tapestry needles. Like that. Oh, let's not forget that. And like that. And these here go in here, but I'm not going to put them there because I'm not done with this Leather Works project, so I'll leave them to the side. Now this flap here doesn't have anything, but my intention is that once these break, I may get leather needles or tapestry needles. Maybe they're the same thing. I have to look it up. But I'll get straight ones. So then I'll put them here if they don't fit there. So this, I'm saving this for better quality needles. So basically this came out way better than it should have. I amaze myself. This is great. Now, I was thinking of putting like a band here, like an elastic band or just a button or something to close it. But you know what? I don't mind. There is no way that any of this, like this whole thing, would ever leave my house. Like any project that I have, it's in-house. And if I do need to travel and use something, then I have this as a traveling carrier. And if I do need to use these knitting needles, then I'll just take them out and put them in my Notions bag as is. So I'm not gonna mess with that. It's perfect. This is great. It came out way better than expected. Like, if I saw this at the store, I would pay money for it. But there we go. I made it out of leather scraps. So, because now I'm obsessed and there's no time, like right now, I want to do something with all of this. I was outside removing the string from this from an abandoned project basically, but it's nice material. It's like a nice substitute for felted fabric, but it's leather. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe I'll do something similar to this, but a little bit bigger so it fits all of these things here. Maybe something like that. Like maybe it'll have 2 flaps and then maybe this as the outside flap. Do I even have enough? Maybe not. I have to think about it a bit, but the idea is that I'll store all of these together somehow in the same way that I store the needles, if they even fit, and these as well, like this. And then I'll have to see if I have other notions that can go in this same setup. Like again, I would never take the whole thing out of my house. Like usually you just need 2 of these for the armholes. So then I would just take 2 out and put it in my Notions bag. The only thing that I imagine ever taking out is this. And that's fine because it's small and compact, right? So I need to think about this, but this is the plan so far. And I think I have enough scrap leather. I do not want to buy more stuff. I really want to use this up now that I have this idea in mind. Okay, so this is what I ended up with. I have a bunch of these scraps, and if we start with the outer layer, I have punched holes around the edges and in the center, and I have started to stitch the edges. And then I have this small little piece here from another project that was also abandoned that I intend to put somewhere here. So this is the most outer layer, which means that this here will be the back. And then I have this piece here, which is a little bit smaller. And again, I've punched the holes and then the center there. And then there's this piece that was also scraps from an abandoned project. I thought, okay, like what is this? Maybe I would just cut it through here, but you know what? I'm just gonna leave it as is. It'll be the centerpiece and it's fine. I mean, I don't wanna, this gives me quite a lot of space and I don't wanna lose that by cutting it. So I'm just gonna keep it. And if you do notice, there are holes on the edges and in the center, but then there's also holes here where this flap used to be. This flap used to be like this. And then there's holes there as well. So I'll just have to live with those. I mean, this is a perfect piece for that. I'll just probably stitch all of this and it'll just be like decorational stitching, not anything functional whatsoever. So all in all, when everything's done, then it'll look something like this. And it'll be like a little booklet as well. I finally figured out what I was doing wrong with these stitches here. Normally, like I was just doing them back and forth on both sides, but then I realized that, and now I don't know if the video, if it catches this well enough, but the holes are diamond shaped. And so ideally the stitches should be slanted, which means that from one side I need to insert the needle on top of the stitch and then from the back side at the bottom. That way they're all leaning towards the right direction. And I wasn't doing that earlier, so I learned that. And then the other thing is, when I punched some of these holes, the punching wasn't that consistent, so it means that some of the holes were a little bit smaller or a little bit tougher to get this whole needle through. And because this is quite thick string, then it gets harder to put it in the correct position if I'm just like forcing it through. Like on the spool, it's nice and thin, but the more you use it, like it starts to come apart. So I could reinforce it with like some extra beeswax so it stays tightly in place. Or it might just be that this is just not the right string for this project. I know that they sell some plastic nylon stuff, and that's how you can close it and finish the work off a little bit better, because then you burn off the ends or like melt them so they don't come off. But now I just have to like sew everything in, so you make thicker stitches on at the end of the work, and that's fine. I don't want to use plastic when everything else is natural. And I may even just use this, and if at some point the stitching falls apart, then I'll just redo it, right? I mean, I'm not going to be handling all of this stuff in a savage way. I mean, it's going to be in my home, so I may end up doing that in the end. There's nothing wrong with nylon string, like it has its purposes, but I would like to avoid it for this project at least. But now I need to continue on with the stitching here. And before I get to this section here, I need to start working on this so that the stitching on this is more or less done. I will add this and then punch holes on this edge later on. I just want to make sure that it's in place. Like, my issue is that some of this, okay, not this and not this so much, but some of it I feel like it's very elastic, and then I can't stitch it in place. And I have seen that you can glue this, but I don't want to glue things. Like, I want to keep it simple with simple materials. I'm not a fan of glue for leather work. Maybe I just need to get over myself, but anyway, let's finish the stitching here and see how far I come this evening. I have been doing a bunch of stitching off camera, and I am more or less done. I need to now decide how I'm going to assemble all of this project together. Okay, this is what I have so far. I have the outer layer here with a small pocket, and I can tell you right away, I kind of messed this up. To begin with, this part was already punched around the corners and it was kind of uneven to begin with, so now there's like this lump here, and then I also messed up that stitch there. I wasn't looking. I'm not gonna redo it, it's fine, I can live with it. So that's the outer layer, and then there will be this flap here, and then this like so, and then I'll be able to close it and open it like that. And I'll end up using the same string to do the spine, and if it ends up coming apart, then I'll just reinforce it with some beeswax. But before I do any of that, it's now a good idea to visualize how this is going to store all this stuff here, because I still need to punch some holes, and I think it's easier to do that now before I put everything together. So to begin with, I think I want these guys here, and I think I'll end up punching holes at the top and at the bottom. And then I think I want these on this side. And so I will have this flap and this free for something else. Okay, let's do that. Let's punch some holes so that I can get onto the spine and more or less finish this project. I just finished the spine and it was a lot easier than I thought. Okay, it was kind of hard to get the stitches to slant in the correct direction, and it's because it was just a little bit harder to do 3 pieces in a go, but still it was easier than I anticipated, and I finished pretty quickly, and the string wasn't even an issue, so I'm pretty happy with that. I don't think this is gonna come apart anytime soon. And the holes have also been punched. I have taken everything out just so that we can put this all together and I can show you what it looks like. Now I've shown you this before, so the sleeve is just to store these hooks here. I really like how this turned out. Like so. That's one done. And then this here will hold my needles. I didn't take out the tapestry needles because they're kind of sharp and they're already in place. So it looks something like this. But then I will put the knitting needles like so. And also this here as well. Although I don't think I would necessarily need this with all this stuff. But anyway, I'll put it there for now. And then this little container here goes in here. It is a little bit tight, as I said, but I rather it's too tight than too loose. Like so. Oh, it's coming along. And it'll stretch out the more I use it, so I'm not worried about it. Like that. And it's pretty sturdy, like won't even fall off. And how I made this is it has enough space to move around that if I do want to take out something and I don't want to take out the whole thing, I can. Like so. So that's pretty handy. And if this piece does get really worn out, then I can always put a new one. I mean, that's the nice thing with leather. The holes will remain, but I can always put a new piece of leather and yeah, replace this. So that's that. That's pretty nice. That's one. And then this here. This inner flap doesn't have anything. And I did make the holes here. I don't know if you can tell. Now they're a little bit tight, but that's fine. Don't mind. So that, and I noticed when I made these holes that I kind of made it kind of crooked, so I had to try to be more careful with the other holes, but it's handmade, it's not perfect. So, where is it? And then the pocket here, I have this here. Now, every now and then I do need to use this because the needles that I have, I do store them in their bags and then they have their labels. But sometimes if I have more than one set of needles working and the numbers have rubbed off, then I don't remember what they are and then I want to put them back where they belong and then it's hard. But this is nice. I mean, I do also have a caliper, but this is convenient. And then I have measuring tape. I like to keep one of these in my traveling bag, so I'll put that one there, probably this one because it's smaller, and then I'll put this one in here. And that's what it looks like. So I have the possibility to use this one still, and this one here, and there's extra space, like so. And this one, I bet this one fits in the pocket here, but this one lives its own life because I actually use this quite a lot, so yeah. And that was that. I really like how simple these look. Pretty straightforward. And that was that. I'm pretty satisfied. I get lots of satisfaction from organizing things. I know I'm not the only one out there. You know who you are. All right, well, that was enough leather work for a while. I do have other things I want to work on, so I will leave it at that for today. Thanks again for watching my video. See you next time.